What's good, Atlanta? This is the Blog and Dirty podcast, where Dirty Bird is the word if you haven't heard. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fanside.com. Coming to you guys here on a Friday. I've been on a little bit of PTO, still technically on it. We'll be back writing again on Monday, but a lot of stuff happened here with our Atlanta Falcons. The NFL draft has come and gone. Drake London got his fifth-year option picked up. Kirk Cousins is still on our team. So I've got a little bit of stuff to talk about today. We'll have a little bit more a well-rounded show maybe on Wednesday, but you're the people, and I got to give you guys what you want. I'm really glad I'm really glad that the landscape people stopped going right now. Since this is on Restream, it picks up everything, and I hate leaf blowers more than anything in the world. I think that's how people launder money. I think that's like how rich people are like, okay, yeah, that's this is strictly a cash payment. Let's just put a bunch of stuff under the table. They don't know it. They're just blowing leaves. I mean, it's May 2nd, whatever. But I was getting a little nervous there that it was going to pick up here, but it turned off right at 11, just in time for this show. I mean, clearly they're watching right now too. But let's get started here with a slice of pumpkin pie. I'm going to react to what the Atlanta Falcons did in the 2025 NFL draft now that I don't have a leaf blower going on. That was always fun. So your Atlanta Falcons made, I believe, 5 picks in the draft. Again, I saw the whole first round while I was working, and then obviously I've been over in Arizona for a while. Been kind of following along from afar. So the Falcons made 5 picks. On Thursday night, they drafted Georgia linebacker, the Butkus Award winner, Jalen Walker at number 15. They didn't think he was going to be there at 15, which necessitated the Falcons to move up from the second round to 26 to take James Pierce Jr., the defensive end out of Tennessee. They made a deal with the LA Rams, probably gave up a little bit more than they needed to, but this is the guy that Atlanta felt comfortable taking at 15. Personally, I wouldn't have been because go Dogs, but and there's also some potential off-field stuff going on there, personality, whatever. But I love the fact that Atlanta went after its biggest need as a team, which is its pass rush, with 2 guys that people have thought very highly of throughout the draft process and could be staples here for a long time. This is how the Eagles got really good. They kept, adding on to their strength and simply overpowering people. If you want proof of that, just think back what happened to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes had no time to throw the football. Well, he had an awful offensive line in front of him, and the Eagles pass rush just devoured him. So Atlanta's got 2 guys here in the first round, in Walker and Pierce out of the SEC. Very big fans of that. Perhaps my favorite pick that the Falcons made came in the 3rd round. I love Xavier Watts, man. I love Xavier Watts. I love what he's all about. A very instinctive player out of Notre Dame. They took him at number 96 overall in a deal. I think that's initially the Eagles had that pick. 3rd round. I know that a lot of people out there are thinking that they wanted Princely out of Ole Miss by way of Florida, but Watts he's just a football player. He's a guy that's won the Nagurski before. Very instinctive player. He's going to be playing next to his idol, which is Jesse Bates III. I mean, a guy that played in Indiana. We got to remember Bates is from Fort Wayne. So there's a lot of stuff going on here with that. This basically indicates that Justin Simmons is not going to be back on the team, which we all kind of knew anyway, but this is a very good plug-and-play type of player. My favorite thing about Watts, though, is he may not necessarily have the athleticism of everybody else, but he's going to play very smart and within himself, and he'll make the plays that he should. I think he's also the fact that he's kind of an overachiever in college, did very well in Al Golden's system there at Notre Dame. I think that'll translate quite well to what he could do in Atlanta. More importantly, I think he's going to keep the ball in front of him, and I think that's going to be key. We've got a fantastic secondary. The front seven's improving. We might have a defense here, but I was certainly thrilled to see his name come across the board in day 2, and then in day 3, we got a Billy Bowman Jr. Safety out of Oklahoma, and then our 7th round pick, we took offensive tackle Jack Nelson out of Wisconsin. Don't really have a whole lot to add to here. I think that they were very adamant about this in the process that the Falcons want to get deeper in the secondary. I think the previous draft, they were all about getting deeper in the front 7. Didn't really pan out. Maybe it'll pan out this year. And I also found the feeling that Atlanta really wanted to, for lack of a better word, they wanted to have some sort of assurance out on the edge with their book and tackle situation. I mean, Caleb McGarry has gotten hurt the last couple of years. He's played well when he's been out there. And then The other big part is Jake Matthews isn't a kid anymore. I mean, I know they gave him a 2-year extension, but like he's been in the league for a decade. He's the longest tenured player on the Falcons. And even though that the Falcons didn't interview anybody of note on the offensive side of the ball in the combine, this wasn't the one. This wasn't a surprise to me that they went with an offensive tackle in the 7th round. Certainly one of my favorite drafts of the 32 that happened this year. Certainly one of my more comfortable drafts as a Falcons fan, and somehow D'Orlando Ledbetter still gave us a C. There's no such thing as imposter syndrome. He has doctorate degrees and teaches journalism. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's truly an embarrassment to Atlanta sports. Definitely the worst person who's covered anything. That's neither here nor there. I'm not saying I'm better than him, but yeah, I am. But anyway, like I'm very pleased that Atlanta went out with a purpose. And I mean, yeah, everybody's going to be like, yeah, they nailed their picks. This is one where I felt that they got value across the board. You got 2 first-round picks. And I think with a team like the Falcons, who typically drafts very well in day 1 and gets his ass kicked in day 2, I think by focusing on, this is why I think that trading up is more in the Falcons' nature. It's like, okay, we're going to go up to get our guy. Yes, you have the 5th-year option now for both Walker and Pierce potentially on the table. We'll talk about that more when we get to a Drake London segment with the penultimate topic on this show. But I feel like when you're being aggressive and you're moving up to get a guy, I think from a standpoint, it's like we wanted to get you. We prioritized you. That doesn't necessarily mean that the player's going to play any harder or it's going to work out. But I kind of feel that like if you're doing this with a 1st-round pick, as opposed to like waiting for a guy in the 2nd, I kind of feel like your attention's more locked in that day than it would be in day 2. Whereas like day 2, it's like, okay, we only have 1 pick. Let's just focus and nail it. We got a few guys on our board that we can get. Watts was there. Love that. Couldn't be happier with our first 3 draft selections. As far as how Walker and Pierce are going to play off each other, I'll probably talk about that here on a future episode. But like, there's a lot of guys in the pass rush now. You've got Walker and Pierce coming in. Ebiketie is still here. Braylon Trice is coming back off of his rookie year where he didn't play at all. There's other guys out there. I mean, that's mainly the big Leonard Floyd. I totally forgot about him. Yeah, go Dogs. It's going to be imperative that Atlanta finally develops a pass rush. And I'm not talking about us being top 10 in the league. I'm not. That may never be our lot in life. But like, can we be league average? Because if we're league average, then there's other areas of our defense, other areas of our team where we're above league average, and that raises the floor across the board. This is how you win 10 games a year. This is how you win the division. You get a home playoff game. You're surprising people. You end up being the Commanders last year and playing an NFC championship. I mean, maybe that's just part of what makes Dan Quinn a special head coach, even though it blew up in our face later because they didn't draft very well. But yeah, very much on board with what we did. Would have liked to have had more picks, but again, I don't feel like we had necessarily the trade capital or the finances to really get more. I'm glad that we did what we needed to do with the 5 that we had here. Pleasantly surprised to see them trading up for James Pierce. And more importantly, I'm stunned that Jalen Walker was still available at 15. I talked about this on both the Stacking the Box live draft show when it was happening with Mike Luciano, a little bit with Ian McMillan as well. And then I definitely talked about this on False Start with Cody Williams with 3 yards to cloud a punt on last Thursday after the draft. What is Carolina doing? We'll talk about that more in a minute, but like, you allowed a hometown guy from Salisbury, North Carolina, who played at Georgia to go to Atlanta twice, essentially. Walker had a lot of success playing in the Benz. He's very excited about coming back. More importantly, you're going to be playing him twice a year. Not saying that Jalen Walker is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread here in Atlanta, but like, he's going to remember that the Panthers passed on him and the Saints passed on him, and we got him before the Buccaneers did. So those are 2 teams that said no thank you for a guy that was one of the most versatile and explosive playmakers in defense last year. That's a little bit of a surprise. And I also think with James Pierce Jr., this is a team that the Falcons clearly believed in him. There may have been some maturity issues there at Tennessee. And again, like I'm kind of right in the middle with character concerns. Take it or leave it. I feel like if it's a deciding factor, I'm ultimately going to say no. But I feel like at 26, with other pass rushers having coming off the board, between the Falcons picking 15 and then again at 26, it made sense to go up and get him. I mean, the Rams have the most boring drafts ever. They don't do anything. So everyone's like, oh, the Rams got fleeced. Rams might be trading down. Rams, this is probably the last year they'll be any bit good. And again, I don't think they're going to win the division. I'm all in on Arizona winning that division. Maybe it's just because I was in the Arizona, not the heat. It was very nice down there in Phoenix the last couple of days. But the Rams were an easy trade partner. This is the team that Raheem Morris used to work for. Les Snead used to work for the Falcons. I understand they're both in the NFC, kind of vying for the same sort of playoff spots here, but like it made sense. But overall, I'd give our draft an A. Why not? I mean, I've been able to say that for a very long time. I mean, because this could blow up my face too, but this is a draft that I felt comfortable coming out of. Like, okay, Atlanta did very good here. So, going to move on to our next topic here with some blow the whistle or blow the whistle. Should we be happy about the Falcons 2025 NFL draft? Yeah, we're going to blow the whistle here. Absolutely. Blow that train whistle, baby. That's what it's all about. You have to be happy that Atlanta went into this draft with a purpose. The Falcons said, we need to get better on defense, particularly we need to get better out on the edge. So they got Walker at 15. Didn't think he was going to be there. Took total advantage of that. Makes me feel a lot better about passing on Dallas Turner coming out of Alabama last year, in favor of Michael Penix Jr. Love the Michael Penix Jr. And then in addition of these two guys coming in, like the last two first rounds have been great for this team. Obviously, you got to give up your second round pick to get Pierce on the team. Fan of that. I mean, again, you probably overpaid for it, but at the same time, like you're kind of banking on your team being really good the next few years. And if that's the case, then like the draft pick of the 2026 first rounder, that's going to go back and you're going to be like, okay, so instead of the Rams picking at like 15, like they would be this year, they're picking closer to 26. So you get what you paid for in some capacities. Again, I loved Xavier Watts. That's my absolute favorite pick of the draft, just because like this is a guy who's just very instinctive. He's my type of football player. Loved watching him at Notre Dame this last few years. Loved watching him in the playoff last year. Notre Dame doesn't get to the national championship game without him, particularly with Benjamin Morrison, their very talented cornerback who got hurt. Tremendous player. And I don't know how great he's going to be here, but I think he makes the room better. I think that he's just a student of the game. I think he's a guy that comes in here he's not a selfish player. I think he's a very selfless player. And I think that like coming into a room that already has guys who are immensely talented, whether that be Jesse Bates III, whether that be AJ Terrell, whether that be Mike Hughes. These are guys that I think can elevate help a guy like Xavier Watts get the most out of this game. As far as Billy Bowman Jr. is concerned and Jack Nelson, make sure I got that name right. Jack Nelson, yes. This is kind of more a depth thing. Again, I'm not really spending a lot of time here on either of those picks. I like the fact that they played at SEC schools, or not SEC, Power 4 schools. Don't love the fact that Oklahoma and Wisconsin weren't any good last year, but I think that that may give them a little bit more hunger to go out and make a difference and make this team. Would venture to guess that they probably will. Bowman more than Nelson, given where he was drafted. I think you got to be pretty happy about the Atlanta Falcons draft for the most part. The only thing you could probably say that's like negative about it is you could say, okay, maybe they shouldn't have traded up to go get James Pierce. Maybe Watts and Bowman are a redundancy. Then you're obviously looking at it like, okay, we're missing two picks. We made the trade for Matthew Judon, and then obviously we didn't have a fifth round pick because, they gave that up for, tampering to get Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, and Charlie Werner. You would have liked to have had a full allotment of 7, but for the fact that we only had 5 picks and we made 5 selections, you got to be happy about that. And then obviously the whole Jax Ulbrich thing with Shedeur Sanders, I'll talk about that in a minute. That's just embarrassing. I'll probably give a more interesting take on it than anybody else will. But for the most part, you got to blow the whistle. This is a good draft for your Atlanta Falcons. And let's go kind of around the perimeter here. This may take a little bit more time. My thoughts on what other teams did in the draft. Again, kind of experiencing this with you guys in real time. So I've literally pulled up Wikipedia. I'm going to go down what the other 31 teams have done, say if I like it or not. Obviously, the first team we start out with is the Arizona Cardinals. Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Jordan Birch, Cody Simon, Denzel Burke. They can all play. Monty Ossenfort's one of the best general managers in football. All these guys are on defense. I trust Jonathan Gannon with this. So, I mean, they're the first team up here. They might have had the best draft, to be honest with you. Obviously, Walter Nolan and Will Johnson are high risk, high reward type of players because Nolan wasn't that productive and Johnson's got a degenerative knee thing. But like these are guys that have played at high levels and at major schools. So I get behind that. Obviously, I touched on your Falcons. The Baltimore Ravens, Malachi Starks, kind of a better version of what we got with Xavier Watts. True ball hawk. He could kind of beat Ed Reed there for the Ravens. They'd necessarily need a guy like that in the secondary with Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton, but the Ravens are going to find a way to make it work. Obviously, Mike Green. Nobody else valued him. That was a guy the Falcons could have potentially taken at number 15. He went to the Ravens at 59 out of Marshall. I think that's a good value pick for them. They don't care about character. As far as the rest of the Ravens draft picks, it's just kind of anonymous. Nothing really I care about it, but those two kind of intrigue me. Buffalo Bills, I mentioned that I really liked Maxwell Hairston going to the Bills at 30. This is a player that they're going to ask a lot of. Maybe he was more of a second-round pick than a third round or than a first-round pick here, but for the most part, like I think that Sean McDermott's going to get a lot out of him. TJ Sanders, another talented player out of South Carolina. Landon Jackson, defensive end out of Arkansas. Deion Walker, phenomenal player out of Kentucky. Certainly a game record there for the Wildcats. He follows Hairston from Lexington to Orchard Park. Certainly like the Bills draft. They need to have a good one. At this point, like they got to get to a Super Bowl or they're wasting everyone's time. Like whoever doesn't get to a Super Bowl this year between Buffalo and Baltimore, like they're not going. One of them might, I don't know. And then moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Thought this was a very weird draft. This could blow up in my face because I think Ted McMillan, Nick Scallerton, Prince Liu, Trevor Etienne, these are all excellent players. I think the Ted McMillan pick kind of, I mean, yeah, you're trying to get Bryce Young, another receiver, but this is kind of like the Bengals not necessarily protecting Joe Burrow, going to get a receiver as opposed to a tackle. This is a team that I thought could have gotten Kelvin Banks Jr., could have gotten Jalen Walker here. Nick Scouterton's kind of like Clowney. The pieces here make sense, but I don't really see the Panthers with this draft really making the necessary strides to keep pace with the Falcons and try to overtake the Buccaneers. They'll be decent, but I don't think they're quite a playoff team this year. I could be wrong. They could win the division. Chicago Bears, very Chicago Bears type of draft here. Don't know why you took Colson Loveland over Tyler Warren. Luther Burden III, poor man, poor guy. Going from in a situation where they couldn't throw a football to another team that they can't throw the football. Nobody wins the offseason more than the Chicago Bears. They love crowning people saviors, and then they don't save their team. Very dubious on working out with Caleb Williams. I think Ben Johnson's a bit over his skis, doesn't realize how hard this is going to be. But it's very boomer bust. Like if Loveland or Burden work out, that'd be great. If not, we'll see a new head coach there in 3 years. I thought the Cincinnati Bengals had a very weird draft. Shamar Stewart, they kind of reached on more of a project than a prospect. Dylan Fairchild, a go dogs, good player. Demetrius Knight, Eric Carter, fine. But like the Stewart thing was like the Bengals don't really draft players like this. They go for guys that have character concerns or guys that are like plug and play. If a guy is a good player in college, he's going to be a good player in the pros for them. If there's a guy that's got to have a learning curve, this is not the place to go to. If there's a guy playing with a chip on his shoulder, then that's how it works. This is just not in their modus operandi. And I thought the Bengals had one of the worst drafts in the league. Cleveland Browns, they were all over the place. Love that they got Mason Graham. They got Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, kind of as a Nick Chubb replacement for the Browns and the Travis Hunter deal. Love Harold Fannin Jr. They're like, you look great in brown and orange playing for Bowling Green. You're going to look great in brown and orange playing for the Browns. Obviously, the Dylan Gabriel draft pick and then the Shedeur Sanders draft pick, like that's just a waste. I would not have drafted Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is better. I understand that like he kind of got thrown over the coals by the media, given who his dad is. Shedeur Sanders is a far better player than Dylan Gabriel. It's not close. Sanders goes to the perfect place for him with a lot of stuff on his shoulder. I think he'll thrive in Kevin Stefanski's offense. He kind of reminds me of a Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith type. Kirk Cousins played for Kevin Stefanski. It's going to work out. Browns had a lot of hit or misses here. It's a fine draft. Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Booker was a massive reach. They did get talent. I think Donovan Ezekua is a good defensive end. Savon Ravel out of East Carolina. They didn't get a single tight end, but they didn't hit their biggest need or wide receiver. They just didn't do what they needed to do. I would be stunned if the Dallas Cowboys are a playoff team. Don't tell Cody Williams that, but yeah, it's gonna be a rough year for his team. Denver Broncos had a very anonymous draft. Nothing about this draft that they did excites me. Jahdae Barron, they were talking about all about trading up to get a guy. They got probably the fourth best defensive back in the first round at 20. He won the Thorpe Award. Who cares? This is a team that I thought should have gotten Amarion Hampton. Now he goes to the Chargers. Definitely one of the worst drafts I've seen this far. Lions, Tyreek Williams is a bit of a reach. Got a lot of guys from Georgia, whether that be Tate Ratledge, Dominic Lovett, Dan Jackson. It's fine. But like for a team that's like one of the best in the NFL, you're not going to be able to like have the best draft more often than not, like given where you're picking. It's fine. I do trust Brad Holmes more than other general managers. Nothing about that draft really excites me. Packers think that they finally got a wide receiver in the first round with Matthew Golden out of Texas. I don't know if he's ever going to live up to the draft hype, but that's okay. Warren Brinson out of Georgia in the sixth round. That's cool. Again, the Packers had a very Packers type of draft. Not a lot to get me excited, although I think Golden could help get the most out of Jordan Love. Houston Texans, they really love some Iowa State receivers with Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. And Jalen Smith's on this team. And they got another Jalen and Jalen Reed. They also drafted Graham Mertz, which was a complete waste of everyone's time. So it's a fun draft, not my favorite either. I think the Colts actually had a good draft. I think Chris Ballard's a terrible general manager, doesn't know what he's doing. Tyler Warren at 14, that was so obvious. JTT at 45 out of Ohio State, love that. Riley Leonard certainly feels like a Colt. I'll give the Colts their props here. Good draft. Jaguars, it's all about if Travis Hunter works out. I don't think the Jaguars are the team that's best equipped to handle his talents. I think it's interesting that Nick Saban kept talking about Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia, who they got in the third round, they wanted to poach Wyatt Milam off West Virginia in the transfer portal at Alabama. Jaguars had a lot of picks, made a lot of trades. Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame. There's good things to be had here, but like we'll see to what degree of an evil genius James Gladstone really is. Moving on to the Chiefs. Nothing about the Chiefs excites me. We'll see if Josh Simmons can be the blindside protector for Patrick Mahomes. But again, he was hurt most of last year for Ohio State. So maybe they get value here like they got with Trey Smith out of Tennessee going in the sixth round for some reason. But like, again, Brett Veach is better at this than most people. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. Don't really love their draft though. The Raiders, Ashton Jeanty, love that at 6. JJ Pegues, the defensive tackle tight end out of Ole Miss. That's fun. Raiders is just all over the place. Tonka Hemingway, for the most part, I think they got better in the trenches here, and I'm okay with that. I think that this is a team that needed to have a great draft, maybe reach on a few picks, but again, you have to remember that this is a new regime with John Spytek as the general manager, Pete Carroll coming over out of retirement, formerly at Seattle. So the Raiders are going to have a different vibe to him. Let's kind of wait and see how this works out. Love Ashton Jeanty, the silver and black. Probably one of my favorite drafts has got to be the Chargers. They got Amarion Hampton, Trey Harris, and Kyle Kennard, all within the top 125 picks. Fat Kyle Kennard fell to the fourth round is ridiculous. This guy's phenomenal. Another one of my favorite players, along with another fellow Nagurski winner, Xavier Watts. Amarion Hampton, getting him makes the team like the Broncos look bad for passing on him 2 picks before. Maybe you'll get similar production with Hampton as you would with Jeanty in Las Vegas. Trey Harris, I always thought he was a second-round pick. But, yeah, I think he got better as a team with this draft there for the LA Chargers. LA Rams, like, why even waste our time? There's nothing exciting about them other than they gave us the right to draft James Pierce Jr. Congratulations. The Dolphins had a horrible draft. Outside of, like, their first, like, okay, like, Kenneth Grant, I thought was the worst pick in the first round. Like, what are you doing with this? You're trying to replace Christian Wilkins. You're not. This team's in flux. You draft another guy named Jordan Phillips because why not? I would say that Ollie Gordon the second and Quinn Ewers in the 6th, 7th round, probably the 2 best picks they made. But if those are the best picks you made. You probably didn't have a great draft. Minnesota Vikings, not a lot of picks. Donovan Jackson, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. It's okay. Like Kobe King, another good player too. The Vikings are kind of like ready to win now. Maybe these picks add them to get over the top. Nothing about this draft that I love. It's fine. I absolutely love what the Patriots did. Getting Will Campbell at number 4, Trayvon Henderson at 38 in the second round. They got a kicker and Andres Borregales out of Miami. Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia, replacing another center out of Georgia in David Andrews. I think Mike Vrabel knows what he's doing here. This thing is going to turn around pretty quickly. Not right away, but I don't think the Patriots are going to be the worst team in the AFC East this year. That's going to be Miami. They might finish in second, depending on how you view the Jets. Obviously, the Bills are winning that division. Saints, they've had some good picks and they had some bad picks. Kelvin Banks Jr. at 9. I'm okay with that. He won the Lombardi. But then again, this is a player that our new edge rusher, Jalen Walker, ain't alive versus Texas twice. We're going to play him every year. Just going to line him line Walker up next to him and just destroy him for next years to come. Tyler Shuck in the second round was the worst pick in the draft. This guy is the Christian Hackenberg. I don't get it. It's terrible. Awful pick. Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas in the 6th round. That's the new menace for us. That's Alvin Kamara. That's Alvin Kamara Jr., for lack of a better word. Not that bad for the Saints, but all over the place. Giants had a pretty good draft here. Love Abdul Carter. Love Cam Scatterbo. Jackson Dart, I don't really see it. Other people do. For me, it doesn't matter. Brian Dable and Joe Shane are getting fired after this year because this team's going to win like 6 games. I thought the Jets had a quality draft. Armand Membu, like that. Arian Smith, he can run. I don't know if he can catch the ball. Malachi Moore, kind of like a lesser version of what we got in Xavier Watts. I'll give the Jets their credit here. Not a bad draft. Mason Taylor, son of Jason Taylor. I think the Jets had a good draft here. Can't really complain there. Philadelphia Eagles, of course they had a phenomenal draft. Why would they have anything else? I mean, Jihad Campbell falls to him at 31. Like, what are we doing? He should have gone to the Bucks, and he's going to the Eagles at 31. Probably means that Nakobe Dean's probably not long for this team. Andrew Makuba, another high-end player, going in the second round at 64. Smile Mondon Jr. got another Georgia player at linebacker. Kyle McCord, I think has a lot of talent. He's going back to his native Philadelphia. Did a lot of great stuff there at Syracuse. Despite having the last pick in the draft, the Eagles had one of the better drafts, in my opinion. Steelers, we'll talk about them in a minute. Not bad. I get the Derek Harn thing. I think that was very touching that he had to tell his mom he got drafted right before she passed. That's cool. Jack Sawyer feels exactly like a Steelers player. Perfect for them. This guy has no filter. He's going to create a lot of chaos in the locker room. Will Howard at quarterback like that. This is kind of like the next version of Mason Rudolph. Play phenomenal for the Buckeyes in the playoff. My thing is, are you really that much better of a football team after the draft? And I don't think so. The Steelers are just trying to deny that they have to rebuild. They're going to be the Saints in a few years unless they change it. But again, like, not a horrible draft. 49ers, a lot of boomer bust potential here with Mykel Williams out of Georgia, Alfred Collins out of Texas. I love the Curtis Rourke pick in the 7th round. That guy is going to be a Kyle Shanahan favorite, honestly. What if he beats out Brock Purdy? Not happening, but that'd be hilarious. 49ers needed to have a good draft, and I think it's okay. I think in a lot of instances, like getting both Mykel Williams and Alfred Collins in consecutive days, can't really complain there. But they also have that 49ers gene of like love getting hurt. So we'll see how that works out for them. Seahawks, honestly, one of my favorite drafts so far. Gray Zabel, the guard out of North Dakota State. Nick Emanwuri, the safety out of South Carolina. Jalen Milroe, a project quarterback out of Alabama. Torrey Hort, wide receiver out of Colorado State. Damian Martinez, running back out of Miami by way of Oregon State. Yeah, good job here, John Schneider. Definitely one of my favorite drafts that's happened this far. Buccaneers all over the place. Emeka Egbuka in the 1st round. I don't really know why you needed to draft Mike Evans' replacement right this instant, but you did. Benjamin Morrison, again, I think he's just too beat up. Cody Williams, my fanside.com colleague and Fall Star co-host, love David Walker out of Central Arkansas, but I'm not as sold on Division II players or non-Power 4 players. But if he's in on him, that's fine. Tez Johnson thought that this guy was going to be going much higher at a horrible combine, and that's why he was barely coming off the board in the 7th round. A lot of boomer bust here with the Buccaneers. It could go all over the place, but again, too much variance for me. We only got 2 more here, so thank God. Tennessee Titans, obviously they took Cam Ward number 1 overall. Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan. Not a whole lot there that you really get fired up about. I'm not the biggest Cam Ward fan, but I think of this kind of like as a palate cleansing draft for the Titans. They're still going to be bad, but like Mike Borgonzi and Brian Callahan need a little more time to reset this. Maybe this draft does that. And then looking at the Commanders, love Josh Connolly Jr. to the Commanders, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss as well. It's fine. This is a team that I think might win the NFC next year. A decent draft. So made my way through that. So if I had to take the Falcons out of the equation, my 3 favorite drafts are I love what the Arizona Cardinals did. I loved that draft. That draft is great. I kind of like what the Seahawks did. And then if I have to kind of scroll back through this as well, honestly, I like what the Patriots, maybe Patriots and Jets. Probably those are probably my other favorite ones. Worst drafts out here. I don't know what the Bengals were trying to do. Dolphins had a terrible draft when they didn't need one. And then I feel like the Rams just wasted everybody's time. So, but again, like it doesn't matter if you win or lose the draft. It matters if you win or lose on Sunday. So the Cardinals had the best draft. And I could be the only person who outside of Phoenix who thinks that. But I think that that's a team that I think can certainly win the NFC West next year. This is a team that we might face in the playoffs. And that's what you kind of want to hope for. You want to see teams that are on the rise make the right moves in free agency and the draft to get over the top and get to where they need to go. So I'm kind of rooting for the Cardinals from afar, unless when they play the Falcons, unless they're going to cost us a playoff spot. But Cardinals are my favorite draft. Least favorite draft, definitely the Rams. That's also because the Cardinals and the Seahawks had such good drafts. 49ers was decent. The Rams just fell way back. But that's how I felt about that. And let's move on to something that I don't really want to talk about, but we have to. From the highest perch of Flowery Branch, the Jax Ulbrich incident is just another huge embarrassing failure of the franchise. We had a great draft. It was fun. And I'm like, working, doing stuff like out about on a Monday. And I see the new defensive coordinator's son, a student at Ole Miss, happened to call Shedeur Sanders and be like, oh, hey, congratulations, you got drafted. Oh, never mind. Like, I understand this happened to a lot of other people in the draft. I know this happened to Mason Graham. I know this happened to Tyler Warren. Like, it's amazing when, like, Gen Alpha discovers, the Jerky Boys are crank yankers. This is something that I think Cody Williams talked about this really well on the show yesterday on Fall Start. He's like, this is something the NFL can control. I think what they need to do is everybody who is in the draft is given a phone by the NFL, and they only get one phone call from it, and it's just a burner. It's a simple phone, and that's all you would need. You don't need to have a second phone here. That way, it's kind of safeguarded, and nobody else needs to have that other than like the NFL has it, and like, okay, we're drafting this guy. Okay, here's the phone number you're going to get. Like, it's embarrassing because, like, of course we're going to get punished for it. We're fined $250,000. Jeff Ulbrich, who hasn't coached down for the Falcons since coming back, he gets fined $100,000, and his son has to apologize. It's like, it's one of the most why do you want to make somebody's the biggest day of their life have a sour note to it? Like, this is why you don't propose to people on their birthday or like at other people's events. Like, you make it about the other person. It's not about you. Like, this past weekend was all about, people like Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Warren, Mason Graham having their dreams realized. And to have other people make it about them is just really sad. And, let's just hope Jax Ulbrich doesn't call plays for us. He can go to Ole Miss and get a great education. I'll tell you that much. But This always happens. Just the weirdest thing happens to our franchise. I don't understand. Like, can we just be chill for once? Can we just not throw up all over ourselves? This isn't that hard. I think what I think needs to happen. Just bring back our jerseys. Bring back the old logo. Bring back this. Go back to the uniforms that were in the '90s that were good. Like, and get back to that. People love those throwbacks. They don't care whatever new crap they have now. Looking like we're wearing a bunch of like kids' pajamas to a party. Like, look cool, man. Look good, feel good, play good, pay good. And then we just defended that guy's son. What the F is wrong with us? I don't know. Like maybe Jax Ulbrich had no idea that Deion Sanders is, I don't know, one of the 4 greatest Falcons of all time, like a Falcons legend. Like that's really great here. And maybe like that again, what this does is this puts even more pressure on Jeff Ulbrich to be the defensive coordinator that Raheem Morris picked. He was fine in Atlanta. The Jets weren't happy to see him go, weren't sad to see him go. You could have had Lou Anarumo, man. You could have had him come here. And I don't know, coach up Jesse Bates to a Hall of Fame career. Oh my God. I really don't want to spend any more time on this, but like, hopefully we can just get past it and not do anything stupid between now and the season starts. Although I know we're most certainly going to, because it's in our blood, because we're the Atlanta Falcons. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about something that's actually good and actually fun. Let's do some London calling here. Let's talk about Drake London being given the 5th-year option. This is no-brainer, and this is why this is great for Falcons. So Drake London's played 3 great years here. First-round pick in 2002 out of USC. 2002, 2003, 2004. Has gotten better every year. Has had different quarterbacks starting every year. Still finds a way to make it. This is a guy that the Falcons drafted thinking, oh, he's the next Mike Williams. Yeah, he kind of is. I think across the board, people look at him as a top 16, top 12 wide receiver in the league. Certainly in an offense that has elite players in there as well. You look at what Bijan Robinson's like top 3 running back. We'll see what Penix becomes. We'll see what Mooney is able to do with a new quarterback throwing the ball. We'll see if Pitts lives up to his potential. Offensive line's low-key good. But like, this just shows that, there was no reason not to give him the 5th-year option. This is another example of the Falcons. Like, okay, we've drafted well in the first round. I think as long as you go back to, since Calvin Ridley. I mean, prior to that, like, it was Tack McKinley, and it was bad. Keanu Neal, wish you could have stayed healthy. Vic Beasley, threw up my mouth. But like, Drake London was a pick that I was not a fan of at the time. I'm like, we needed something else. We needed an edge rusher then. But now we got a receiver that is an impactful playmaker under contract for the next 2 years, at least. Probably going to extend him. You look at it at this point, like they've extended the 5th-year option to Chris Lindstrom before. They've done it to Chris Lindstrom. They didn't do it to Caleb McGarry, although they extended him later. They sent it to AJ Terrell and extended him. They extended the 5th-year option to Kyle Pitts. Have not extended him a long-term deal, but I think that's the right call. See what he does in his 5th year with the Falcons before potentially moving on. Obviously, this leads us to believe that good things are going to happen with Bijan Robinson. Good things are going to happen with Michael Penix Jr. And we'll see what happens with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. But like, if you keep hitting on your first-round picks, and that means you're doing something well in the draft. That also says that like, no matter where you're picking in that draft, you're getting guys of value, and that should be noted. That should be one of the better things here. Yes, Chrissy, I'm seeing like thanks for checking in this morning with us on the live chat here. Yeah, we're having a good draft here. The Saints have had a terrible draft. Looking down here on the chat here, yes. But yeah, I'm very excited about having Drake London on here for the foreseeable future. I mean, I named my fantasy football team London Calling like it's going across the ticker here. Love the Clash. Love the Falcons. Love this wide receiver. And I guess to really tie a bow on this is, just because you may not love your draft in the moment, or maybe you do, you got to give these things time to shake themselves out. I was not a big fan of Drake London coming out of USC. Often hurt. Program wasn't very good. And, he left right before Caleb Williams came in and everything like that, or maybe afterwards. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But anyway, like now he's one of my favorite players. It's the same way I felt about Trae Young coming to the Hawks and the Luka Doncic trade. Then there's other guys out there like, oh, this guy's going to be amazing. And it doesn't always work out. Again, it's a total crapshoot in the draft. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. The only thing is like there's a handful of picks in every draft where like, oh, this is a no-brainer. This is so good. And there's picks in the draft where it's so bad. I would say like it's very hard for me to see Abdul Carter failing with the New York Giants. The only way is if that MetLife turf destroys his knee. I have a hard time seeing Mason Graham struggling with the Cleveland Browns. This is the next Warren Sapp, and I think he can play anywhere. And I have a hard time seeing I'm trying to think who else out here was another really good pick I liked. I have a hard time seeing Giad Campbell not being good for the should have been for the Buccaneers, for the Eagles, because the Eagles know what they're doing. But the Dylan Gabriel pick didn't make sense. The Tyler Shuck pick didn't make any sense at all. I don't know if there's any first-round pick. Yeah, I hated Kenneth Grant to the Dolphins, but that may blow up in my face. That may work out for them. Emeka Buka wasn't great to the Bucs either. But, I wasn't super thrilled about Penix. And now, I got big Penix energy coursing through my veins, and so does everybody here. But, yes, this is a fifth-year option. Excited Drake London. Makes all the sense in the world. That's why we had to do it. Waited to the last minute to do it. I do think it's interesting that like Tyler Linderbaum, the center for the Baltimore Ravens, did not get it because I think the highest paid center is like he'll make more money by not getting it, or like he'll get like better money for the value. Again, Eric DeCosta, just as one of the better general managers out there, doesn't get the respect and the credit that like guys like Howie Roseman or Brett Veach get out there across the board, but he's really good at his job. Terry Fontenot had a pretty good draft. It's kind of it's shocking to me, but he did. And we're going to move on to our final topic of the day. We're going to go with some – you like that, apparently. Now that the draft's in the mirror, what is to come for Kirk Cousins? It kind of feels like it's looking like it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers if it's going to be anybody. The Cleveland Browns, again, they drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I think as long as they got Shedeur Sanders, that basically removed them from the equation because he was a top 5 quarterback in my book. You look at where else the other top 5 quarterbacks on my board went. Cam Ward to the Titans, Jalen Milroe to the Seahawks, Quinn Ewers to the Dolphins, and I'm trying to think who else is on there. Jackson Dart to the Giants, but those teams I don't think are really in it. Will Howard to the Steelers, I think that they still are in it because I like him as a prospect, but like he's essentially his comp's Mason Rudolph, which is fine. The Steelers are still going to win about 9 games with him anyway, but you're not going to be doing much more than maybe making the playoffs and losing in the first round on a wild card weekend. It's going to come down to ultimately if Aaron Rodgers wants to do it. It's pretty clear that the Steelers prefer him over Kirk Cousins because maybe Rodgers is a little bit more talented. Cousins is a little bit more younger. But I think for the money, the Steelers may not have to pay as much to get Aaron Rodgers as much as they would have to possibly take on from Atlanta in a trade with the Falcons for Cousins. But I will say this, definitively, the Steelers are going to have to make a decision. And the big decision was by taking Derek Harmon at 21, they're like, okay, Cam Hayward's got maybe another year or 2 left. We want to have another defensive player, at least be solid defensively before we go through a transition on offense. I get that. I respect it. I don't necessarily agree with it. But if Mike Tomlin thinks he has that much job security or just has the whole organization in Stockholm syndrome, then I can understand why they're doing that. Again, Omar Khan is not Kevin Colbert. It's become very apparent that that's the case. Colbert wasn't good the last couple of years. Stuck his neck out for Pickett and got burned and didn't have to deal with the repercussions of that. But the more I think about it, Cousins kind of works with the Steelers more than Aaron Rodgers. I think Cousins will play more within the construct of what Arthur Smith wants to do offensively than Rodgers, who loves to ad-lib. I think that just the locker room chemistry, I don't see Rodgers really jiving with that. I see him – honestly, if you put both of them on the team, I would say Cousins is more likely to lead the Steelers to the playoffs than the than Rodgers would. And I don't think Steelers fans really want either on the team. My colleague Mark Powell doesn't want Aaron Rodgers on his team at all. He's kind of like got into the bargaining stage of the quarterback grief cycle. Let's get Cousins here. And honestly, let's just do it. Let's get some more draft capital. We don't have a first-round pick next year. Probably not going to get anything close to that for Cousins. Get that off the books. Allow us to reload in free agency. Again, I think we got the quarterback backup in on Easton Stick. No, I'm not saying that he's going to be a great backup, because if he's hurt, then we're screwed anyway. Or if Penix is hurt, we're screwed anyway. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on fumes right now. Just don't do an overnight flight, and don't try to not sleep the next day. Slept like 14 hours today, still totally out of it, having coffee and everything like that. But there will be a team out there outside of the Steelers who will want Cousins because their quarterback gets hurt. And for that reason, I struggle to see Cousins play another down for this team. If he does, then we'll be thankful, because that means Penix got hurt, unfortunately. But that's kind of how that goes. That's really all I've got for today here. I'm running on fumes. I'll be more tied in with what we need to do for Wednesday's show. But going to move back over here with some. Try to find the captions here. Be sure to watch, like, comment, and subscribe to the Blog and Dirty Podcast here on YouTube. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter at the X at Buhler118. You can follow Blog and Dirty on Twitter at Blog and Dirty. On YouTube, it's Blog and Dirty FS. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Read all the work on Blog and Dirty. Read all the work on fansite.com. Read all the work on ATL all day. One day I'm going to figure out how to close the show correctly here. I still have not quite figured out how to do it. Haven't repped it in my brain enough, constantly changing it here. But I think we can enter May feeling quite optimistic about your Atlanta Falcons. This is a team that if the team wants to make the playoffs, they have to earn their way in there. And I think this draft, for the most part, helps us potentially get to that direction. I'm not going to say that it's a guarantee, but I'm going to be really mad if we don't make the playoffs this year. Once again, thanks for listening, and this is the Blog and Dirty Podcast.